Hi, welcome to yet another video. I'm Sunny, my channel is The Hobbit's Tale, and I'm here to talk about books. Well, I could have talked about this earlier, but now I just couldn't keep myself quiet anymore. Because, well, I'm white, I have privilege, so I can just like ignore the problems and just look at the posts and be like, that's bad, but I can be silent because it doesn't affect me. Please, everyone, keep on protesting for the good cause, which is anti-racism, if you don't know me well enough to know that obviously anti-racism. Anyway, keep on protesting justice for George Floyd and everyone who has been mistreated for their skin color or their anything, because nobody deserves that for things like that. I'm so bad at talking about these things, but I just want to bring it up because it's important and I'm upset. And keep yourselves safe when protesting, because you don't deserve to be shot because you're doing the right thing. So now let's get into today's actual topic, which is my May wrap-up. Even though I feel like I shouldn't be talking about books at the current moment, I'm still a booktube channel and I'm going to talk about books, which was my original plan. I was afraid that May was not gonna be a good reading month for me because I only read 6 books in April, but I've doubled that amount in May and I read a total of 12 books. What I find quite surprising is that 5 of those 12 books were audiobooks, since I wasn't really too fond of audiobooks before, because it felt like some audiobooks just didn't work for me, so it was kind of hit and miss. But I found some audiobooks that are actually really good, and I actually really enjoy listening to audiobooks, so I can actually play RuneScape or do something else while reading a book. And that's how I got more books read, probably. Anyway, the first book I read was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. I listened to this as an audiobook and I loved it immensely. I will probably read it physically at some point, probably not this year because I have so many books that I want to read this year, but I loved this so much. This would have also been a great book to read this upcoming month because, well, Pride. Anyway, it talks about the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and you will find who was the true love of Evelyn's life, and I found it so good. I loved Evelyn so much. Anyway, I think everyone should read it. I don't know if everyone will love it, but I think it's such a great book and the characters feel so real. So the second book I read this past month was The Unhoneymooners by Christina. And I listened to that as an audiobook, just wanted to get some reading done because I was still in my reading slump in early May. And it was a great listen. It was pretty like generic in a way, like romance novel, but it had something more in it. I can't remember what, you can read it on my Goodreads review because I'm bad at preparing myself for these videos and I don't remember what was the thing that I really enjoyed about that book, but it was good. It wasn't like anything special because I find like contemporary romance to be something just easy to listen to. So the third book I read in May was The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is a rating I give most of my books apparently that I enjoy, because it was nice. Like, it was just a book in a way. It's like, I don't know how to categorize books in genres, but I really enjoyed it. So basically in the book there are these 4 kids who are siblings, and they hear about this fortune teller who can tell them when they're gonna die, and they decide to spend their savings and go to find out when they're gonna die. Well, the fortune teller didn't take their money, but that's not really the point. Anyway, and so this book follows or tells the story of all the 4 siblings when they're growing up until pretty much the day of their death, kind of. And it kind of handles of if you will do anything differently when you know you're gonna die a certain day. And I found it really interesting, even though I was like, but if you do that because you know you're gonna die, then that's the reason why you're gonna die. And that was kind of like, in a way it made me annoyed, but it didn't really make me too annoyed because I really enjoyed the message that they actually brought up with that. Anyway, it was a great book, 4 out of 5 stars for me. Then I read 2 graphic novels, and the first of them was The Prince and the Dressmaker by Wang. I really loved that. The Prince... Okay, so... Look, I really enjoyed going into this book knowing nothing about the title, because I didn't even critically look at the cover before going in, so it was a pleasant surprise for me. So if you want to go into this book like that, skip ahead to the next book. Anyway, I really enjoyed that the prince got the dressmaker to make dresses for him, and it was so great. And then the dressmaker and the prince fall in love, and it was beautiful. Anyway, I just feel like I enjoyed the book way more when I didn't know that the prince was the one ordering the dresses for him, because I think that's such a great story. And the second graphic novel I read was Are You Listening by Tillie Walden, and I don't really have much to say about this book. I really enjoyed it, and it handles a little bit it handles some rough things too, but I really liked it. I don't have anything else to say about it. I liked it. And it's also queer. It has a queer main characters, so that's also great. So if you haven't read that, it's gonna be June and you can read it during the Pride month. The next book I read in May was The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel, and that was great. I was kinda I didn't really feel like reading that book at first. I was like, well, I don't really... Well, originally I really wanted to read it because that's why I put it on my TBR, and I love the Station 11 and this is a new book by her, came out this year, it's probably gonna be great because I like the style she does things with her books. And it was great, I really liked it. But I was feeling I just don't feel like it at the moment, and well, I was in my reading slump still, but I got to it and I loved it. I just really enjoy books like that too. I don't know even what genre to put that in either, but it's just, maybe it's just contemporary, I don't know. Anyway, it was great. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like it's for me it's really similar with the Immortalists in the genre at least. And I love how Emily St. John Mandel builds her books, at least Station 11 and this one, where you find things out through the book, even though it tells the story in different timelines in a way and different perspectives. And anyway, it was great. And the next book I read in May was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I don't know how to say his last name still. I haven't checked it out still. I'm sorry, still. Anyway, this was my medical thriller for Pop Sugar Challenge 2020 and I really enjoyed it. It has received some criticism and I totally get those things, but I really enjoyed it and I haven't read too many thrillers during my time and especially recently, so it wasn't predictable to me, even though it should have been. In a way, I felt like I'm like, oh, I should have seen that coming, but I didn't, and I really enjoyed it. Then I also read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I read this in Finnish and it was so great because I couldn't get into City of Bones too well. Like, I was reading it, but then again the beginning it just brought on all the YA tropes that I'm not too fond of anymore. It's definitely very much a book like the YA books that were published during that time period when it was published. Anyway, so I decided to grab this one and I enjoyed it. Even though I have read it, I've seen some adaptations made out of this, TV adaptations, but I still enjoyed this so much. And I feel like it's kind of sad these are so short, because it's good because there's constant information, there's nothing unnecessary in these books, but there could be so much more and it's so enjoyable. Like, Agatha Christie's murder mysteries are just so great. And I'm excited because next weekend we're gonna go visit my boyfriend's parents, and so his mom has like almost all the books, like Agatha Christie books, and I'm probably gonna borrow all the books from her. Anyway, this was a solid 4 out of 5 star read. Then while we were at my parents' cottage, where I also read The Murder on the Orient Express, I can't speak. Anyway, I read the Finnish book Ennen kuin mieheni katoaa by Selja Ahava, which is translated to Before My Husband Disappears. And I only gave this like, well, it's not only 2.5 out of 5 stars, because I felt like 2 stars out of 5 stars is too low, but it's just like, I really didn't enjoy it too much, but it still has some good things in it. So it starts with a chapter about like Christopher Columbus trying to find India, and then there's the woman whose husband tells her that he is a woman. And afterwards it's like she is a woman. But anyway, so the husband tells her that. And I just find all those Christopher Columbus things kinda annoying and pointless. It didn't really like it. I didn't understand what they had to do with the topic of the book. Maybe I would be like amazed if I read someone's critic about this book where they explained it to me, but I still haven't, and it would be probably better for me while reading this book if I actually understood it myself while reading this. Anyway, I usually like reading from the perspective of the person going through the transition, like the husband going through the process of becoming a woman through self. I would like to read her perspective, not the wife's. But I still feel like it's important that there are books who also talk about the other person's perspective, because even if you want to be understanding, and because, for example, for me, I totally understand that, and I would probably be fine with like my significant other coming out as a transgender person, because I'm bi/pansexual, so it doesn't really matter to me what gender the other person is. But especially if you are homo or heterosexual, then must be hard to kinda, for you, it's hard for the other person who is going through the process, because they're going to get all the hate in a way, because it's, even though it's hard for them because they have been this person that they are not their life, and now they're going to be the person that they are, but then the other people around them are also going to process the change. And this book handles how the wife of the person who's transitioning handles the change. So she's taking it really rough, and she's saying some things that I find really inappropriate to say for someone transgender, you know. But then again, I think there has to be some books that show that, because it's hard to handle the change while you're not supposed to show how you feel about it truly, because of course you might be disappointed, but it's rude to show that you're disappointed. And in that way I find that this book is important, but I just usually like reading about people being accepting and things like that. So I didn't enjoy this as much as I enjoyed the author's other book that I read before, but I think this might be similar kind of thing that I will think about like a year later, that, oh, I think I should read it again. Maybe, we'll see. Anyway, not the best book I read so far this year. Then, for the rest of the month, I only finished audiobooks, and the first one of the last 3 books is A Clash of Kings by George R. R. Martin. I'm so glad I can continue on with this series as audiobooks. I will get to the next one in June, and then probably the next one in July, and then finish strong by the end of the summer. Anyway, I loved this more than I liked the first one. I gave them both 4 out of 5 stars, but I think I enjoyed this more than the first one because it actually starts to be a little bit different from the TV show, and there's new content and I can actually concentrate on the book. And there starts to be more interesting things happening in this book. I really enjoy A Song of Ice and Fire, and I enjoyed it so far. And I enjoyed about this that we get female characters whose breasts aren't described very descriptively. Like Brienne of Tarth, for example, that when there's a warrior, at least in this book, the breasts weren't described. Anyway, I'm excited to continue with this series. Then I listened to Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was quite a short read. It was only about 5+ hours. So I was like, I can listen to that in one day, and I did, and I enjoyed it. I think this is also a book that you will probably enjoy more when you don't know anything about it. So if you want to, in my opinion, enjoy it more, just know that I think it's a great book, and please listen to it. Anyway, this is the part where I spoil things for you, if you're the person, or if you're the person who likes to know everything about the book before reading it. Anyway, so there are these 2 girls who both lose their dad in a plane crash, and then they find out that it was actually the same dad, because the dad had was living a double life. Like, he had 2 families in different parts of the world, and then these girls have to kind of handle the thing with losing their dad, and also finding out that their dad had lied to them, and they have a sister also. And I think it was really great. Like, there was grief, but then also and disappointment in their father, but there was also like happiness of finding a new family, at least in the end. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. And I think it was my second Elizabeth Acevedo book, because I read With the Fire on High late December, and I have the Poedex on my shelf, and if I'm not gonna read it, I will probably get it from Audible. Not sponsored. If you don't know how you can help, just Google it. Educate yourself, search it, find out how you can help the situation. So, those were the books I read in May. That was what I had to say about things at the moment, because I'm not a very good public speaker, so I just say what I can think of, and that's not really much, and I'm sorry. I try to be better. But I hope I'll see you next week in my next video, and hopefully the world will already be a better place next week. Bye. Fuck, I'm sweating. Ugh. I don't know why I put on makeup on such a hot day. Maybe I should stop doing my makeup so excessively during the summer.